opportunity and obviously some more goals.
Yeah, I mean, really good question. Anybody who's watched us, I think, these past few games knows that, we're struggling a little bit once we get the ball into that attacking third. I think we've done well to break teams down. And then once we do get into that final third area, we're lacking a little bit of creativity, a little bit of structure. We had a long meeting yesterday as a group with the staff about how we can become better at that, how we can fix that. So that was the main topic I think that was addressed in training today, because when you don't have the Golden Boot winner available, you gotta kind of look to other guys and you got to be a lot more creative. So we believe with the guys we have on the field. It's just I've talked about this before, but next man up mentality. Guys got to really step up and take ownership of that burden, because scoring goals in the MLS is not easy. Keeping clean sheets in the MLS is not easy. So that's something that we want to tackle as a group. Like I mentioned today, we spent a good large part of the session really working on what can we do to put ourselves in better positions to get our creative guys on the ball in the attacking third and go score some goals, because it's not gonna look kind of how it's looked in the past, where we can get the ball wide and kind of just cross it into the box and let the big man put his head on it. So it's going to look a little different. Jacob has his own strengths that we need to play into. So I think that's a huge part of it as well, is kind of playing into the strengths of the guys we do have on the field.
Next, we'll go to Dave Johnson.
And along those lines, just what you said, Connor, about playing into the strengths of every player is different. Playing into the strengths of a Jacob Merle. So, for example, how can you set him up best for success based on his strengths?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we look at Jacob obviously a little bit different than we look at Christian. Jacob's definitely more of a runner, trying to get him runs in behind. So I think that's kind of what we want to start off with from the get-go, is try to get Jacob running in behind, trying to get some of our attacking players going in behind, make their back line maybe drop off a little bit, and then maybe find some pockets underneath. Jacob's different than Christian in the way that Jacob's a near post runner. He wants to, we get the ball wide, and we can know that when we cross the ball, maybe we're looking for that near post now, that Jacob can maybe get a touch and flick on and get some shots on target or score a goal or two. So I think we're not, it's tough when we leave Jacob up there to dry sometimes in between two big athletic center backs, and we just kind of throw up a prayer hoping that he can bring it down and help us build. And Jacob can do that, but it is different when, from playing to Christian and having him do that than it is to Jacob. So, the more that we can get maybe some runs in behind and play to Jacob's strengths, and I think that'll help us keep the ball and move up the field together as a unit. I think a lot of times in the Red Bull game you saw we would kind of just launch the ball up the field, and Jacob's doing his best. He's gotten a lot of, I feel like, I don't think negativity is the right word, but he hasn't really been given the accolade. Like, he deserves more, because he works his tail off. He runs hard. He works his butt off. And I wish people would recognize that a little bit more. The kid's only in his second year in the MLS. He's still really young. He's learning a lot. He's been stepped in to fill some shoes that are not easy to fill. So as a team, I think it's important that as teammates of his, we come behind him. We fill him with confidence, regardless of if, he hasn't scored a goal or not. He's our striker right now. And, we just need to really fill him with belief and confidence that keep doing what you're doing, keep working. The goals will come.
You mentioned confidence, and I would start to think confidence is an issue, but then I think you're down twice against Charlotte.
Yeah.
And perseverance. So is the mental part at all discussed, or are you still very confident?
For Jacob as a player, or just as a team?
No, for as a team.
Yeah, I think.
I'm just thinking,
yeah,
against Charlotte, when all of a sudden you got down for a second time, I'm thinking, I don't know if there's enough in this team, and you showed there was enough in this team.
Yeah, I think anybody who looks at us like right now, I think we're going on 8 or 9 halves of MLS play where we haven't scored a goal, which is something that we're obviously not proud of, but we also have had some really strong defensive performances in that stretch. the game against Charlotte is a perfect example of how goals can come and be created by not just relying on one person up there, but when we press and we work hard as a team. When we win the ball higher up the field and get players in more dangerous areas closer to goal, those goals will come. Those goals will happen. As for the confidence, I definitely don't think we have a group that lacks confidence. I do think we are going through a little bit of a rut in terms of getting that ball to the attacking third and what can we do once we get it there, because I think what we do is we get the ball to the attacking third and there's only sometimes one, maybe two, three guys that are up higher up the field. So I think something we addressed the past few days is like, hey, can we get more numbers up the box, more numbers in the box and higher up the field, so that'll give us better opportunities to score. And every game we go into, I think guys are confident. We want to score. I talk to Jao all the time. This guy's hungry for goals. Jacob is too. Kojima as well. So I definitely don't think it's a confidence thing, man. I think it's just a little bit off in terms of like how we want to be structured in the final third. And I think with the work that the staff's put in and the training we had today, I think you'll see it this weekend or Wednesday. I get my days mixed up.
Next, we'll go to Donald Line.
Thank you. Hey, Connor, thanks for your time today. You're a little over a year removed from your ACL injury. You've obviously come back and been able to feature well so far in the year since coming back from that. What did you learn about yourself during that process of downtime?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think what I learned about myself, I think, during that period of being out, I obviously got to spend a lot more time, with my family, with my wife. I've got 3 young kids. I think what I learned about myself is that, and this is going to sound, ever since I can remember, soccer's been everything to me, like my whole life, my whole world, everything, but having this time off, with an extensive injury, just kind of made me realize like how important my life is outside of soccer. Spending more time with my kids, spending more time with my family. I think I learned a lot about my own resilience and work ethic. In the off season, it would have been really awesome to, go back home to Georgia or go down to Florida to some warmer weather but I was here every day, every single day of the off season. I think I took a week off, my family and I did, for Christmas to go back to Georgia. But other than that, I was in this facility every day. But I think that's something that has always kind of been ingrained in me since a young kid. But I talk to the people about this all the time with this ACL injury. It wasn't even necessarily the physical aspect, I think, that was hard. It was more the mental side that was really difficult. People always talk about the physical, the journey back, how hard it is, blah, blah, blah. But it's really the mental side, for me at least, and a lot of athletes that I've talked to that have gone through similar injuries. For me, I'm a very impatient person, and that whole process that I went through for a year was I had to be more patient than I've ever been in my life in terms of just taking it a day at a time. I had Adam Diamond was my PT here at DC United, and I spent obviously every single day with him for about 7-8 months, and about once every week I would look at Adam and just be like, man, I'm so sick of this. But he encouraged me and just told me, hey, put your head down, keep working. It's coming. So, when I was finally able to step on the field for the first time against Philly a few weeks ago, that was just an incredible, even though we lost, it was an incredible victory for me and my family, because if anybody knows the sacrifice and everything that I've been through to do that, it was my wife and kids. So yeah, I learned a lot about myself, definitely became more patient, tried to persevere through that, and constantly thinking about getting back on the field, I think.
And with all that, I know the patience is usually the thing that can wear thin, but also you gotta, persevere when you're going through an injury like this. Does that help you in these times during the season where, again, over the last few weeks, maybe you've had a couple of struggles as a team? Does that help you kind of focus and right the ship?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I'm a firm believer that, all things will work out the way they're meant to. I believe that, even though we're going through a little bit of a scoring rut right now, I believe if we continue to do the small things right in training, it's going to turn for us. There's going to be a game here where we put 3-4 in the back of the net, and then everything is going to be good again. Confidence is going to be flying. We need to be patient. We need to continue to look at every single day. Just take it a day at a time. Focus a day at a time, a game at a time. Zach talks a lot about being in the moment, being in the day. As long as we were taking little steps every single day in training, trying to get better, doing the right things, it'll translate to the games.
Thank you so much.
Next, we will go to Bruce Murray.
Hey, Connor, thanks for your time. Been in the game a long time. I have never seen a press like I saw last week. Can you just talk to me about how they press, the subs they put in, the way they did everything, just the constant pressure, and that ball, when you put it and fire it into Jacob, who's playing a little bit out of position, almost like the national team with 3 wingers up top, right? 8 defend, those 3 guys just interchange.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So that game plan going into you're referring to the Red Bull game, correct?
I am, yeah. Just the incredible pressure.
Yeah, so I think that's something that we wanted to do. They had their 2 starting center backs that were both on yellow card accumulation suspended. So we really wanted to get after those guys. We wanted to get them on the ball and really put them under pressure. That was a huge topic of conversation that we had as a team yesterday because obviously, we lost, and we always reflect on, as a team and as a group and a staff in the meeting room, we talk about what we could have done better or what we would have changed. We always look at ourselves first, and I think I've played against Red Bull at several different levels, but if you know anything about Red Bull, they play the same regardless of the level, MLS, USL, whatever it may be. And I think if we could have gone back and changed maybe a few things, we would have. Red Bull's a team that they don't really want the ball. They don't really want possession. And I think when we were pressing with them, they were launching the ball to us, and I think they were fine with that. They're a team that'd rather us have the ball and us make the decisions because I think there's a crazy statistic out there where these Red Bull games are, majority of the times when they're leading in possession, they lose. So they're a team that really doesn't want the ball. I think that's maybe a change we would have made. But yeah, I think after that Charlotte game where we did press against Charlotte as well and try to put their center backs and their defenders under pressure, and I think we did it very successfully. And I think that was something we were trying to also translate into that Red Bull game. But Red Bull is a completely different opponent. They kind of I don't want to say they want that pressure, but they'd rather launch the ball high and really advance the field that way. Maybe launch it to our center backs. Our center backs kind of knot it down, and their 6s or their 8s and 10s are running onto it. But the pressure is something that when we're playing it, we talked about this yesterday. It was a huge topic. When we're at home, we want to go after it. Like we don't want to sit. Like nobody wants to sit in a back 5 again at home. Against a Red Bull team. So when we're at home, we want to try to go for it. On the road, it's a little bit of a different story. Winning in the MLS is hard. Winning on the road in the MLS is harder. So I think for all of our home games, we want to be on the front foot. We want to be high. We want to press. We want to press teams. We want to put them under pressure, win the ball higher up the field, and then that gives us a shorter distance to go to goal. And I think you're going to see a lot of that tomorrow.
Great. Good luck. Thanks, Connor.
Yeah, thank you guys.
And then we'll end it with Dennis Gomez.
Thank you, Connor. So I just want to talk a little bit about the team chemistry. So how would you describe the team chemistry this season? How do you balance that with a sense of camaraderie and healthy competitions for playing time?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have really good team chemistry. Like this is a really good locker room. We have a really great group of guys. I think more recently when you lose a leader in our captain and Christian, and like I talked about, the load kind of gets spread around a little bit more. It can cause a little bit of, I don't know if stress is the right word, but it can cause a little bit of a burden on other players, and guys need to really step up and step into that. But the chemistry has been good. I think as long as us as players and the staff are on the same page, and we can execute the match plan. That was something us as players against Red Bull we didn't feel like we did a good job of, is executing the match plan that our staff put in front of us. So I think this weekend, or against New England, you're going to see a well-executed match plan, something that we worked on for a long time today. And as long as we stay connected, I think we have a good chance to get a result tomorrow. But the chemistry's been good. Everybody's is in good spirits because we understand that the moment negativity and little chatty conversations on the side start creeping in, that's when things take a turn. And that's something that we really try to avoid as a group. We don't really want to be a part of that. We want to try to stay regardless of how things are going, we want to try to stay as positive as we possibly can. And like I said, every single day doing the little things to make us better. And we firmly believe that if we do that, the best is going to come for us.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
That's it from Zoom, Connor. Throw it to Sam.
Yeah, I just had a couple questions. You spoke a little bit about the younger players on the team, the Jackson Hopkins, the Garrison Tubbs, the Jose Kojimas, the Jacob Merles.
Yeah.
I was wondering, two parts. Can you speak a little bit about them and, their work rate and what you kind of see both on the field and off the field? And then the second part of that is, you've been around and played at various levels. What is your role in kind of helping them develop as young players?
Yeah, I'll first touch on some of these younger guys like Kojima, Tubbs, Jacob. They all work so hard. Kojima is a player who we definitely want to have on the field. Somebody who we've learned to trust with the ball. Tubbs, the past few games has been, even though even with the mistake against Red Bull, put that aside, the guy's been defensively just solid, just been really good for us. Jacob works his butt off. The guy brings a positive attitude every day, and I think that's something I could say about all the young guys is they show up, they shut their mouth, they work hard, and that's all you can ask for from those guys. I think for me, like as definitely an older player on this team, and I've played at various levels in the USL and then here in the MLS. I think for me, I think my job is just to really encourage those guys and maybe give them thoughts or anything that I feel like I can give them that I wish I would have known at their age. They have such opportunity in front of them. Like I think Jacob's like 22, or maybe 20. Yeah, he's 20 years old or 21, and he has such an incredible career ahead of him. And I don't want him. Last year Troy had me speak in front of the younger guys. There was like 10 of Fletcher was a part of that group. A lot of young kids. There was like 8 or 9 of them in here. At Matai Akamboni, and he wanted me to just talk to them about their just the opportunity that they have to have a coach like Troy who is willing and wants to play younger players and give them opportunity to play. I think young players sometimes they get to this point and they kind of have the mindset of like, oh, I'm so young, like I don't really need to be playing right now, or like, oh, there's always next year. And that's just not the case. That's just not true. You put your head down, you work hard, you earn the spot. Troy's going to reward you with it. It's not like he's got set in stone his guys that are just going to play every week. Troy looks at training every single week, and if you're training well and you're putting the work in, he's going to give you an opportunity to play. It's all up to you if you're going to take advantage of that opportunity. So that's kind of what I challenged those guys with last year is look, training is everything. You cliche saying you play how you train, but when you have a coach who will play young players and give guys an opportunity, like regardless of people talking about Jacob struggles, look, we're freaking believing him again tomorrow. We're sticking with him, and like I said, we want to fill him with confidence, but take advantage of the opportunity you have. Like this is such an incredible place to be. I don't think you'll find anybody in MLS that's more thankful to be here than I am, just given like my journey through U.S. Soccer, League One, or PDL, League One Championship. So I always talk to them about that as like always be grateful, never take this for granted, because you could be sent on loan tomorrow. Like just really really work hard and take advantage of the opportunity that's been given to you.
And then just to get even more granular and just focus on one player, Jose Kojima, right? He's played every game for us so far this season. Came from St. Louis, where he wasn't playing consistently. He's a unique guy. Can you talk a little bit about his personality, his mentality, if you will?
Yeah.
What he puts into it off the field?
100%. Jose's, for lack of better words, this guy's crazy, man. He shows up to the facility at like 6 a.m. every morning. The guy's sitting in the lunch or in the breakfast, lunchroom with his iPad or his computer out, watching film nonstop. We have we have like group meetings, whether it's defenders, sixes, nines, tens. We have meetings like that almost every day. And this guy sits in on every meeting. You know, he doesn't have to. The coaches don't ask him to. He wants to, though. He wants to be a part of it. He wants to see. What every group is working on, what every group's being talked about. He brings good energy for us, man. He's a solid guy in the locker room. You know, it's like I mentioned earlier. He's someone that we've learned to trust on the field. We know that he's always going to give us 100% effort, and I think his playing style really matches what Troy and Zach want to do with pressing. So yeah, he's been a huge positive for this team. I think I've enjoyed playing with him. Yeah.
Okay, great.